Hey guys, Mark from Blue Sea Bushcraft and Outdoors. This week we're going to show something for the glamping side of camping. I got a Vevor 8 kilowatt diesel heater. They come in different varieties, but I got this one which will unbox soon. This one's got the Bluetooth functionality, altitude adjustment, and it also has the Bluetooth app, which is kind of nice. These are the Chinese knockoffs, as they call them. The actual versions are like $1,000. You can get this for less than 200 bucks, and then buy some extra little items for it to make it suitable for your use. So anyway, we're going to get into this. We'll put it together. I'll show you some of the extra things I bought for it, and hopefully it accommodates some of my different forms of camping, and it shows you some different ways in which you can use it in yourself. So let's go. All right, let's see what's in the box. I opened it up just to make sure there's no damage, but I really didn't do anything more than that with it. Obviously, instruction manual. That's a blower vent. There's the diesel heater itself. And you get a whole box of goodies to attach to it. That's it. We'll get this thing set up here. So that's what it looks like. Here's your power attachment. You gotta do your own attachment system that you're gonna use. This is the 12-volt version. You get that nice little handy remote. That's powered. And then of course there's your panel for operating it. Break this down and see what's in this kit. That's your air intake, kind of clamps through. I guess air filter is what you actually call that. There's the dinky little muffler. That'd be your exhaust pipe. That's your filter pipe that the filter attaches to, and this is your like vent pipe that blows the hot air out, keeps you warm. And of course the instruction manual. And as I talked about this earlier, this goes together, actually snaps together. But I've seen people break these, so I'm gonna maybe heat it up a little bit. Maybe put a little bit of lubrication on these little snaps so it snaps over top and doesn't break it. So that's the components. And really, there's a ton of videos out there on these things. It shows you how to put them together. I'll show little tidbits, but I might go into more on how I'm gonna set up the electrical part of this and stuff, and how I'm gonna run it either off battery, a portable generator, or even a power bank. But they need so much draw at first to get the glow plug glowing, so you need something that's going to give at least 12 amps, preferably, so it can fire off. Once that starts and it's going, it drops considerably, and you don't need as much draw. Anyway, let's get this thing together. So they have a nice 5-liter tank, and you can see on the side here there's an opening so you can see how much fuel you have left. The caps, I guess, can leak, so either some guys put a piece of duct tape inside it or on top of it, or even a Ziploc bag or something under the cover and screw it back down. And I guess some fuel, if you spill it, can go down around this ring. I may have an idea for that. I'm going to see how it works. I have this rubber flange thing that might be able to go down and sit on top of that. So if you do, it'll run off the sides, not down inside the machine and make it stink, or your vehicle stink, or the tent stink. I guess they sip fuel from what I understand. If you put them on low, you can get almost 2 days out of this thing running, which I think that's amazing. I have the buddy heater, which I've used in my ice fishing tent and my hunting shack. But the thing with propane is it produces moisture. So the bloody tent's full of moisture all the time. It's kind of wet, damp, it's gross. Unless you got a 20-pounder, when it's cold, the little tanks, they just die. It won't stay running. Whereas I'm hoping this will stay consistently running. I'll be able to have a more enjoyable day in the field. And then, like I said before, I can use this in my hot tents or my wall tent to offset the wood heat and not burn it all up. So I kind of have it for a glamping side of things, but also save wood at times. But it's something you're not going to drag in the field. If you're winter camping, you got a sled, you can probably bring all this stuff. But backpacking and that, you're definitely not going to do that. So anyway, let's get into putting this thing together. So here's everything broken down into the bags. Obviously, you got your muffler over here. You got a mounting bracket, some screws, a nut and a bolt. Got 2 large clamps, 4 smaller clamps, 4 bolts, nuts, 4 screws, 2 mounting clamps, obviously the filter, air filter, and the pipe that it connects to, and then onto the machine itself. You've got your output for your hot air, and then there's the vent you can articulate, obviously exhaust pipe, and the owner's manual. Now with these heaters, you can get different models. There's one that's all in pieces, so you have a custom mount. You can put it on a bus, van, into your camp or cottage. You have so many different varieties. Guys put them in coolers even, or briefcases, like a Pelican case. So it gives you some, your self-modification and self-building. I just bought the self-contained unit. Now, I kind of tossed up between this and like the tower one, where the fuel tank is basically up on top instead of on the side like this one. I just felt that might be too tippy. Now, granted, the tall computer tower-like one, you can actually get into it easier. This one, you got to take out a, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 screws to get into it, to do some modifications to it, which I'll kind of talk about later to make it a little better at performance-wise. So putting these together, I bought this extra over and above everything. This is like a nice elbow. Instead of bending the crap out of this one, trying to get it to turn, I just got that to make it easier. And I think with that, it won't hang down as far as, so it'll come out the side. I'm going to put some red RTV on it. I don't want any carbon monoxide sneaking out anywhere. I obviously use a carbon monoxide detector in my hot tenting, and I will on this as well. You never know. Better be safe than sorry. So I'll put some the gasket on here, screw that on, and we'll keep going. There we go. Nice little bead of gasket maker on it, the high temp stuff. And I put a little bit down there as well. And what's nice about this is they give you this little slot to get your screwdriver in. Go. Nice. Well, I got that installed. The clamps that people talk about that come with them, yeah, they're garbage. So I'm going to have to go down and pick up some newer ones at the thing. The one I used that came with it, one of them worked and the other one was garbage. I can't even put it on here. It won't even hold the pipe on. Pipe slides on fine, but the clamp's garbage. It goes on nice. I could just do that for temporary, but see, it's a little too loose. I want to have a little bit of clamping there, so I'll go pick up some new ones. So yeah, the ones that come with it, garbage. So these things sit pretty low. You don't want the pipe dragging on anything. So I took these pieces of refurbished piece of wood from the deck I built at Blue Sea's cabin. And I'm going to use them as feet on this. Got to rise it up a little bit off and give it a little more stability. Kind of like along that lines. And yeah, should just sit up a little bit higher, and it's probably 2.5, almost 3 hands high. That'll work out well. I'm gonna mark where I want to put those and counter drill them a little bit so that they don't split the wood. And then that'll give me a little bit of a better base and some height. So I marked the positions for the feet. This is kind of where I'm going to put them. I'm just going to, like I said, drill some holes so I don't split the wood. I got some lag bolts to put down in it, and they're black, so it'll kind of match up nicely. And let's do that now. And I'll repeat that for the other side, and then we'll bolt them down. I got both of those just stuck in there, so let's see if we can put these leg bolts down. Probably a little bit overkill, but going here. There's that one there. Looks good. Rinse and repeat. Do the next 3. Well, she's complete. They work well. Nice and solid. The screws didn't pop through. They're lag bolts, I should say. It's not the light issue, but... So what I used was these from Home Depot. They're 1/4 inch, 1.5 inch long. And they come with the whole washers and the lag bolts. It was like $2-something for that. So, like I said, I repurposed some wood from my deck I built at Lucy's cabin, and there we go. Nice little stable platform. So we'll continue on with the air filter installation. So I'm thinking rotate the screw this side. It clears the fuel line. Now, one thing with this fuel line, this is not the greatest. They say it's like a heartbeat, the pump, the fuel pump, and this has a habit of flexing. Now, it's not so bad coming out of the tank side, but when it comes around to pumping it actually into the unit itself, you don't want it to flex. So I do have a fuel filter and other hose coming. It's just not here yet. So that will be an upgrade that's coming to this, but I'll show you some other things I'm upgrading on this as well. But we'll put this on now. I got that mounted on underneath, and then you just want to feed it out through here. There we go. I'm going to put this on next. Yeah, these clamps were a little nicer than the other one I got since that was separate from this, but yeah, pretty much garbage. There we go. pretty snug. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. She's on there. Now I know there's like clamps and stuff that come on here. I'll just have to figure out where it goes on here. Figure out something. If something, I'll just zip tie it to that. I think that's nice and neat. A little zip tie there. Or if to cut it or move it somewhere else, I can do that. So I made a trip to the hardware store and got some better clamps. And I also picked up this thing. Flush valve shank washer. But, as people said, if they spill fuel, it leaks down inside here. Gets in the car or smells. It can also blow into the tent through the intakes and that. But it fits perfectly around this. So if any fuel, it's not going to go inside the casing. And then still can screw this down all the way. There you go. Little hack. So these exhausts tend to get really, really hot. So I'm going to wrap this with that fiberglass wrap, muffler wrap, or whatever you want to call it, to keep the heat down. So it won't burn myself or other things. And I put a new, better clamp on here. Tighten up enough so I can get this on and off, but tight enough that it'll hold it so I can remove it for transport and tuck it back in when I need it. So this is the wrap I got. I got all these parts pretty much all off Amazon. Get the metal tie straps. And of course that's the wrap there. Gotta be careful with this stuff, wear gloves. It would be itchy as hell if you don't. And to wet it to put it on. Let's see how that goes. Alright, let's wrap this with the thermal insulation tape, as they call it. I wetted it so it's easier to work with. Try to get this neat as I can. So what most people tend to do is they put a twist tie or a ziplock, or a zip tie I should say. Okay. There we go. I'm not gonna lie, that was not fun. I just gotta cut it off and then put the straps on, but that's what it looks like. Should work well. And I guess when you heat it up, it'll shrink a little bit more. So I just got to put the ties on now. And here, obviously, clip this end off. Well, that's the end product. Looks pretty good. That was not fun though. Got a little bit of the fiberglass on my forearms, a little itchy. All right, now we gotta power this thing up. Comes like this with bare wires, so you gotta have some way to hook it up to power. So I got an LED driver here. This one's 150 watt and it is a 12.5 amp, which should be more than enough to use the glow plug on this to get the glow and spark the fire in there, get this thing rolling. And NOCO make chargers and stuff. So what I did is I bought this. I'm going to cut this negative end off here and put it on that. And then it'll give me a whole variety of ways to hook it up, because the other end off of this is going to go on to this end. And then you can plug that one in, or whatever you want. So I'm basically going to have 3 choices of power. I can hook it up with the alligator clips. This will be hooked onto that one end of it. And then, yeah, I could even hook it up directly because these alligator clips, this can come out and hook onto a battery that way. Let's get this started. So you got to trim these 5/16. So I'm using these waterproof butt splices, and then you heat them up, and then there's like a glue in there as well. And then I'll also put some shrink wrap over top of that again. There's those 2 on. That's coming from this cord. Alright, I got that all done. So I put some shrink wrap from the fuse block here. Shrink wrap that all the way up to here. And those were waterproof ones. You heat them up underneath that, and then I just put a piece of heat shrink over top of that just to tie it together. So that one's done, ready to go. So there's the LED driver done. Got the female here. The male end's obviously on the heater, and that goes to all these little attachments, so I can just attach whatever I need to use. If it's either the generator, the LED, whatever I want to use, I can use it, and I clean that up nice, put some shrink wrap around it. Good to go. So, will this be the Griswold family Christmas and the lights come on? Well, let's find out. Yes. Success. It works. So there's really not much to these. Gotta get rid of some of these crappy lines that are in here. It's gonna be interesting how to put a fuel filter on here. I might have to extend this line and tuck it in back there somehow, I guess. Because this is where it comes out of the fuel tank. But I don't have that yet, so it's okay. The only crappy thing is I take 1,000,000 screws out to get this thing apart. Yeah, I might be able to get one. I'll just have to tuck it up under there, the fuel filter. Diesel in Canada is not too bad, but you never know. I'm just going to try to wrap that pump up. They're kind of like a heartbeat almost. They pulse, and they make a tick, tick, tick sound. If you're watching any other videos, it drives some people nuts. Well, I'm half deaf, so I probably won't even notice. Other people might. So I'm going to try to wrap some stuff around that pump, but see if I can fit it in. So that's the piece of foam. Hacksaw blade's just perfect for cutting these, and then it wasn't split, so took the hacksaw blade down the middle and perfect. Take a couple zip ties, put it around that, and should kind of muffle that a little bit. So that tubing worked perfect. I cut the backside so it goes around the flange or the holding bracket for the pump, and I fit a piece on the back, and then I roll a piece onto the front here. So it's perfect. Should quiet it down. I'm not going to zip tie it yet because I'm waiting for that fuel filter to come. So I'll just leave it the way it is for now. It's not moving, so we'll see if that gives a little less tick instead of ticking people off. Anyway, that was quite slick. So this was another NOCO attachment thing that I never ever used, and anyway, it'll come in handy for some forward management. I just zip tied it into those existing holes that are on there. Not sure what they're for, but I can easily just loop up my stuff, put it through there, and then the cord's not dangling and getting in the way. Great when you see these little things. You can use them again. Well, this was a little frustrating. This was the other charger, the car charger, 12 volt adapter. Anyway, they sent me the wrong one. It didn't have the X connect, which goes on this. I ordered the right product. They sent the wrong thing. So now I got to do a return to American Amazon. So what a pain in the butt. Anyway, so at least I got the two options. I just won't have the cigarette lighter at the moment. So I don't have everything I want to put on this yet. I bought an extended exhaust hose just in case I want to extend it out or keep the exhaust a little farther away from the tent or what have you. Got an exhaust. This one's actually has baffles in it, so it might quiet it down. Some people say they're noisy over the one that comes with it. I've got the fuel filter, which isn't here yet, and then this here. So I took these quick clamps, so you can just take it on and off, and you're quickly set up. And I put it on this end as well. So this is a 4-inch hose because they say it can push heat back in and overheat the machine. So this is 3-inch, this is a 4-inch pipe, and it obviously stretches out. And I have a kit coming for this where it Y's off, and then I can stick it in the tent and run heat bolt down, like down both sides of the tent to uniform heating. This one's not bad. You can turn it and move it around. You can stick it in the tent. But that worked well. I just cut the pipe that came with it, that comes off of here. I just cut it in half, and then I just took my 4-inch clamp and then squeezed it around the 3-inch on this 4-inch hose. And yeah, it just worked great. It's stuck in there. Like I said, I can take that off, stick the Y on it, the other thing I have, and quick and easy, and yeah, I can just highly portable. So I think things should be neat and tidy. So I just had this old dog leash clip, took some paracord, tied a bowline on each end, and then it gives you a carry handle, and you could loop it around the top of the machine, the heater if you want, and easily carry it that way, and then it's not all coming apart on you. Anyway, that works. Well, let's fire this thing up for the first time. Got the outflow pipe for the heat. The exhaust is out the door. Yeah, I know, it's not in the proper container. It should be yellow. Oh, let's try it. Well, this little puppy's ramping up. No hot air as of yet. She's running. See what happens. So she's going through a process here. It's in the ignition stage. She's slowly ramping up. It's getting hotter. It's at 40 degrees Celsius. It's 16 degrees Celsius in here, and that seems, let me see, let me look over here. Somewhat accurate. I guess over by the door would be 16, it's 19 in here. Oh, she's ramping up now. 53, 54. Taking 10.3 volts. Pretty cool. And everything was done. Ignition is on the app. I thought you had to push a button according to the book, but it's right in the app. So, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you one thing, wrapping that pump made a big difference in that foam. Like, unless you walk up right to it, you can hear it there, but you walk back here, you barely even hear it. Just the blower going. Love this thing. Can't wait to use it in the field. Well, I just tried my second option, hooked it up to the battery. No problem starting it. Like I said, I got that NOCO connector, and I've got like 3 options. The cigarette lighter, which they screwed up that order. I don't have it to show you, but basically it's just a cigarette lighter. The battery, and then my LED driver. Well, this little muffler upgrade's definitely a lot more quiet than the one that came with it. Alright guys, I'm back at it again with the Vevor diesel heater. I took the tank out already, it's right here. Just pulled off the hose off the end of this. But I got a fuel filter here. I'm going to put on it. But what I'm thinking though, the crappy hose is this green hose, as you can see up top here. But that's the hose that goes to the fuel tank. I might just leave this one because there's really nothing wrong with that. And the only part I'll replace is the other side of it. And go down to the up to the bottom. And we'll take a look at that and put that in. So I just pulled off the one off the pump itself. It rotates down here and then comes in through the bottom and up into the heater itself. So I'm going to take that through now. So I just slid one of these down over top of the pump. That's sitting right here. So it's like that. And then I'm going to obviously put this nice hard line into the pump or going into the heater. This stuff doesn't flex. This green hose here, as you can see, move it over a little bit. This stuff rots. I saw a guy one picture that he showed on one of his videos. It was like literally brown and rotten and crumbled. It was lucky that his diesel tank didn't drain itself on the ground. But yeah, I'm getting rid of this, and I think I'll just save the other side and not put the hard line there because the pulse is more on this side. So I'm going to just put the one line on for now and see how that goes. We'll keep going here. Now it's important to square these, so these cutters for like PEX pipe are perfect and it cuts it nice and straight. Not straight across. There you go. So like I said, I use this to cut the pipe. I just measured off the same length as the green. Obviously, I gotta compensate for the pump here soon. I'll figure out where I want to put it. So yeah, just put that on like that. Nice and straight. You can see better there. Yeah. All right. And when you seat these, when you measure them off, it's about 1.25 inches. So it has to touch the other end of the pipe in there. So I just put a mark on there to know how far to shove it down into the yellow or rubber tubing here. If that's a little hint, that might help you. Just yeah, like I said, put a little mark on there, 1.25 inches for these ones anyway, and it'll make its way into and hit the other one. So it's buttoned up against the piece inside, like where the pump is, the other stem. Well, I got that in, put a little bit of soap on it, and I kind of had to take the needle nose pliers and just put a little slight pressure downward. I don't really like doing that, but it didn't seem to hurt the hose. But I did notice it's this sharp metal divider here. It's rubbing up on that. I don't like that. So what I think I'll do is I still have extra of this here. Let me see. There we go. I got extra of this. I'm going to cut a piece and kind of put it right here. Up from the bottom, so it's just putting pressure on this instead of like kind of like cutting the line. So yeah, we'll put it right here. I'll show you that in a sec. There we go, a little preventative maintenance to keep this from fraying, and also the cord, because the cord was sitting up against that too on a like a bow, and it was hitting this metal. It's sharp. So that little preventative maintenance might prevent some future issues down the road if that was the case. So I think that was a good thing. All right, we'll keep working on this and get that filter put in here. All right, I got the fuel tank put on. I took the diesel out of it for now so it doesn't spill anymore or anything. Cover the diesel off of that. All right, so there, that's just kind of cleaned out. Like I said, I put this on here to prevent the hose from like getting on there and rubbing. It's especially the wire as well. Don't need any issues. Alright, I got that in. That was not fun. I wrapped this up, put zip ties around the top and the bottom, just to quiet that pump down a little bit. And I noticed down, I'll show you here in a sec. Right down here, there's the screws that hold the LCD panel on. And they actually poke into the fuel canister here, or the tank. So I put a couple pieces of that foam just on top of those screws, so prevent some wear and tear on this and maybe making holes. So, and like I said, up here I put that on there just to keep the hose from chafing on that separator. It's pretty sharp metal. Try to get rid of problems before they happen. Alright, finally got this fuel filter in. What a pain in the ass. These things are not fun to get this tube into, the white tubing into the rubber part. I put soap on it, which helped. And I took some needle nose and tried not to squeeze or anything and shoved it in. I don't know if you heated it up, it might help. But anyway, it's in. It's done. So, anyway, we're going to put some fuel on it. Make sure this is pumping, not leaking anywhere. And let's see what happens. Let me get some diesel. Put a little bit of diesel in there. Got too much load, I guess. Should have put the stove on, but anyway, easy. Get some diesel in her. Just wipe up this little bit of stuff here. I'm gonna put that rag out. Now this tank was mounted, but I didn't put the screw back in. It only goes into that little piece of sheet metal, but with this foam in here, it makes it pretty rigid, so I'm not too concerned about it. Okay. Alright, got a little bit of diesel in there. Let's put the cap on here. And we'll make sure it's pumping right. Alright, I'm just going to pause it for a second. Well, we got power. Perfect. Now I'm going to put it over onto the filter and see if it starts pumping diesel through. Alright, let's start this up and see if she starts to pump some fuel through.
Start heating.
There is a prime function they mentioned in the book, but there's another YouTuber that I watched that showed how to use the panel, and he couldn't get the priming thing to work for the pump. Go. See a trickle. Yep, it's coming now. You see it. I wish the priming feature worked. I'll have to look more into that. So I thought I'd just go over one more time how I get my power source to this diesel heater. So I bought the cord that was like one whole length, like an extension, and it had the male and the female end. I cut it in half. I took the male end and I attached this to the diesel heater itself. So the only male end is the diesel heater. Everything else obviously has the female end. So I have alligator clips I can connect to it. I have a cigarette lighter version, but Amazon sent the wrong one, didn't have the X connector. So that's coming. So I'm going to try that in my power bank when that comes. So I can't show you that right now. But then I took the other half of that split cord and I put the female end on this LED driver here. Like I said, that's 12 volts, 150 watts, and it puts out 12.5 amps, which has no issue starting the glow plug and getting this thing running. So I thought that was a good idea to do this, and it's all plug and play. So it gives me multiple options to get this thing going and use it in the field. I hope that helps somebody and give you some tips. Alright, so what did I upgrade on this diesel heater? So obviously I put legs on it here. I just repurposed some wood from my deck. Like I said before, I put linseed oil on them to give them a little protection, let that dry in. So I put those on and I put some, I think it was 1 1/4 inch lag bolts in this. Not like you need that heavy duty, but anyway, it worked well. They didn't poke through the bottom. Put a washer on. It's solid as a rock and it's a little wider, so it gives a little stability. That's why I didn't go with the tower one. I just felt like it would tip over. Above that, like I said, I found this flange just for a toilet bowl or something. Anyway, I measured it. It fits perfect because people have said diesel sometimes spills over and goes in here and it starts to stink and stuff and you can get in your car or what have you, or it smells in the machine. It can come in the intake if the scent gets around. Anyway, that works great. It's prevent spills going inside the machine. What else did I do to this thing? Oh, yeah. So like I said, you already know my power supply. So NOCO had this other thing in one of my NOCO chargers, and it was for cord management. Anyway, there's holes already in the back here, so I just put a zip tie through the little holder and it works perfect for cord management when you're transporting. So that was handy. On the bottom, I bought one of those elbows. It's just bending that big long tube or muffler pipe. It's just too much of a bend. So I just bought this and I put a little bit of red cement in there, exhaust, high heat temp cement, just to kind of seal up just in case there's any carbon monoxide. I always carry a CO detector anyway, especially when I'm using my wood stove in my hot tent. And I put in a fuel filter. Fuel's pretty clean here in Canada, but you never know, something falls in the tank. You got the filter on, so I put that on. Anything else did I do with this thing? Oh, I put some foam padding around the pump just to quiet a little bit. I haven't put any foam in and around this or anything. I was thinking about buying some, but I don't find it too noisy yet. I'll test it some more to find out if that's the case or not. And I noticed that, like I said before, there's this thing's screwed on, but the screws are kind of like poking towards the fuel tank. So I just put a piece of foam on each little screw there just to prevent that from fraying on the tank. And then, like I said, underneath wherever the fuel tank or the fuel pump is, it should be over here. I think it is. Anyway, there's the divider. It's a great divider, but it's got a very sharp point. So I put a little piece of foam just underneath that so it didn't rub on the fuel lines and cause any leaks or anything. So besides that, that's about all I did to this itself. And then I've added some additional items. I'll show you those next. So what little add-ons did I put to make it a little bit better? So, pretty self-explanatory. Those are your heat vents. When it comes out of the machine to warm your shelter or whatever you're putting it in. It's a Y pipe. Comes as a kit. This stuff's all off Amazon. And that kind of pulls out and flexes to some extent, but I wouldn't say it goes too far. But at least it gives you a split so you can kind of warm down either side of your shelter, tent, whatever you're using it in. What else I got here? I'll just put that down here. And that's just my standard one. Another one coming off of the that, or I can take it off. So what it is, I put these quick detach ones. So if I want to put that Y one on here, I just take that off and stick it in there, and I have the Y on this, so I can stretch it out. And obviously that's the part that hooks to the heater itself. Now what I did too is I just took this old dog leash thing. I think I mentioned it earlier in the video. And I had a piece of paracord, and it just gives you something to how to carry it and take it in the field. So I said before, that's 4 inches and a 3-inch inside, so it fits on the heater itself. And I got this handy little key. They make the hose clamps. So this goes on for easy takeoff of, say you had to loosen up a clamp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole through that, and I'm going to put a piece of bank line through that and hang it off the machine, and if I need it in a hurry, then I have this. This is a muffler that came with it. Pretty crappy. It's a straight through. It does make it quieter. I bought an extended exhaust pipe just in case I want to exhaust it a lot farther from the tent or whatever I'm putting it in. And then I heat wrapped the other exhaust that came with it. That was fun, itchy as hell. And then I put this muffler on it. This muffler actually has baffles in it. It's a good muffler. It actually makes it quite quiet. So that was a good investment. Those were the upgrades I did to it. We'll try it in the field and see what happens. And I learned something, and I hope you learned something too. But it's a little fun little thing to have, and it's pretty good. So like I said, I hope you liked it. And hope to see you in the field. Alright, let's fire this baby up and see what happens now that we did everything.
Start heating.
Oh, I smell diesel. Glow plug must be going. So from research I've done, this is the newest controller that's on there. And this one is Bluetooth compatible, and obviously the remote that's hanging off of it. This thing just sounds basically like that plane that's flying over that just took off. How ironic. This is heating up. I'm gonna go roll over onto the Bluetooth app and I'll do a screen recording. Oh yeah, she's ramping up now. The old diesel's coming out. Now they just smoke at first and generally it calms down once it gets going. Alright, I'm gonna hop over to the Bluetooth app. For drivers, as you can see, the temperature goes up quite readily. It's around 100 degrees Celsius, and you see it climbed up to around 200, just over 200 degrees Celsius, and that's where it kind of stays around full time and on max. So I thought I'd mention there's a heating mode and a level mode. Level mode goes up to 10, and the heating mode, I think it's 35 degrees Celsius is the max on that. This is going to end my Vevor diesel heater session in this video, and then I'm going to obviously send it out for everybody to see. I just want to show you that this Bluetti AC70 of mine will start this Vevor diesel heater. I've got the cigarette adapter here. Like I told you before, this is part of my normal charging cord triplicate system to get this thing running. Now this thing was down to 55% now, but when I used it on a test session, so I didn't record, I should have, but anyway, I'm going to be using it in the field in future videos here, so you'll see it. So I only used about down to 80% on this for about a 10-hour burn with the diesel heater, and by looking at the side here, I probably used a quarter, almost a third of the diesel fuel. So very efficient, and that was, like I said, over 10 hours. So anyway, let's just start this baby up here. You see, came on the power, so it powers it. So let's start this thing up. It takes a few minutes, so I may pause it, but actually no, I'll just turn it on so that it actually will start the glow plug. That's the biggest burn here when you're starting, and there's the glow plug. Runs a lot of power to get going, but once it drops below that, and it'll run off this at about 12 volts just fluctuates slightly, but it sticks around the 12 volts area, or watts I should say, on the power bank here. So we're waiting for that to go. So in regards to noise, as you know, in the previous part of this video, I wrapped it up in that. It helps a little bit. It's almost like sounds like water dripping in a metal sink, or like on a roof or something, like a tap. It's not overwhelming. I didn't mind it too much when I tested it. The sound of the air coming from the outtake here, where the heat comes out, it was just like a forced air furnace. It really didn't bother me. Reminded me of as a kid, I used to get out of bed in the morning and lay on top of the register and just the air blowing on you. So I slept like a baby. It didn't bother me at all. It was hot. So when I ran it in the tent, I ran it at about 15 degrees Celsius, and it was perfect. I think I looked at the thermometer in the tent. It was like 19 degrees Celsius. And so that didn't overrun it, more fuel efficient, and it seemed to just keep me good, at a good temperature, I should say. But maybe in regards to when it gets really cold, you might have to up it a little bit. But from that little test that I did, it seemed to work well. As you can see, it's starting it. And there's also the addition of this muffler there that actually has baffles in it. It actually kept it quite quiet as well. So that was a nice little upgrade. And I'm going to put links to all the stuff that I bought for this unit in the description at the bottom, so you can look it up and see kind of what I bought for it and the prices. So we're burning at like 116 watts here right now. Yep, smells like a jet engine. Smell the diesel. And this display is quite simple to screen. I'll show a close-up in a minute and give you some more details on this. I'm not going to go into crazy details because there's a plethora of videos on YouTube to see that. So now she's starting to wind down. The glow plug obviously lit it in there. It's dropping down to 33, 32 watts. And then they'll go down, like I said, to about 12 watts, and it kind of fluctuates up and over and above that a little bit, but it sticks around just 12 watts. So according to this, at the current rate, it'll last 12 hours with 54% in the battery. She's warming up, so as you can see, this will start the Vevor diesel heater. This is the 8 kilowatt version. They say there's not a difference between 5 and 8 kilowatt anyway, but it'll start this 8 kilowatt. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. I'll go over some more details, and then we'll be coming to the end of this video session on the Vevor diesel heater. So I just wanted to mention, this is what I ran it at that night in the tent for that test period that I did. And I'll show you some screenshots of the app itself here, so you can see kind of what the levels were when I was running it. And it's roughly the same temperature right now. It is probably about -3, -4 right now. Anyway, I'll show you some screenshots. Right now it's running about 21 watts, 24 watts, bouncing around there. I'm not sure, it's a little bit higher today for some reason, not sure why. I got it about the same level, maybe it's just the conditions, but still, it's not running that high. As you can see, it's relatively quiet. Like I said, I'm not going to go into great detail. This is obviously up, down, this is your mode button, and this is your on and off button. Press the mode button, go level mode, and hit auto mode. Auto mode is like your temperature control, so right now it's showing 14 degrees Celsius. Actually, that's probably what it's doing. It's probably trying to warm up here to get to 15, so that's why it's running a little bit higher than what I had the 10 the other day. But once it settles down, it goes into the green zone here. It won't be up into the orange here on the top where my thumb is. It will drop down to there. And you can change the time on here, but every time you unplug it, obviously you're going to reset the time. And then there's a bunch of other hidden settings, but like I said, I'm not going to go into that. The main thing is I just wanted to show you the setup, how it works, and what does work for it, and what doesn't. But it's working good so far. So one important aspect I want to go over here is when you shut this down. If you want this thing to not clog up or coke up, shut it down properly every time. If you pull the power off of this or it dies all of a sudden, it's not going to go good for this thing. It'll just get all crusted up inside and you have to tear it apart. This one, you don't want to tear it apart that much because you got a whole bunch of screws you got to take out of, unlike the tower one where that's a benefit. But as you see here, just hold that in. So it says stop heating. You can turn that voice off if you don't like it. But let it go through what it has to do here. Let it close off on its own. And it'll prevent this thing from gunking up inside and then you have to tear it apart like I said. So make sure you let this thing completely shut down on its own. Alright guys, one important thing here I want to stress is safety in using these things. Like my buddy heater, which is propane, and obviously this is diesel. Have a carbon monoxide detector. Always. And obviously fire hazard. Putting these up, especially the tower version, because it seems to be a little lower even than this one. This exhaust is terribly hot. It'll ignite grass or anything, your intent if you have it inside or anything that's around it that's flammable. Even with this pipe rack here, it gets really, really hot. And you see this thing just starts to shut down. It just said that, so it did its shutdown process. Like I said, safety is of utmost importance. Always check your fittings, make sure it's tight. You know, if something doesn't seem right, make sure that exhaust is nowhere near the air intake. Like I have mine pointed away, it has to be down lower than the unit, and there's drain holes in that exhaust as well to keep any moisture out. So just follow the protocols, follow safety procedures, and you know, you'll get along fine with this thing. I thought I'd mention the one thing is the instruction manual that came with this unit is poorly translated. Even the symbols for the up and down are wrong. It's like one's like a pi symbol and something else. It's really confusing. But I did look online on the Vevor website, and you go under the actual unit that you purchased, and that one is actually translated quite well, and the symbols are actually correct. So if you're getting confused on the instructions that came in the box, which I was at first, the one online is actually correct. So if you're having issues, check that out. It might help you. This one, the priming feature does not work. Even if you go by what the book says, you turn it on, you hold this down arrow for 7 seconds, and it's supposed to go show 300 and go through the priming cycle. It does not work. Or it didn't work for me, and it didn't work for another guy on YouTube as well. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but it seems to prime on its own and start okay. So I thought I'd tell you about that. Now with this, you got some options for fuel. I'm going to stick with straight diesel. Yeah, in colder temperatures, it can gum up on you, and it won't work properly, but you can get additives to kind of stop that from happening. I don't think the temperatures don't get here that cold here in Nova Scotia, but when I was in Alberta, you can get it down like to -50 in that, so you have a high chance of it gelling up. So other alternatives are kerosene, which is not cheap. You can use that as well. And then some people use used motor oil, or they might cut it with kerosene, etc. But it seems anybody that does that, these things gum up. They have to tear them apart and clean them. So I'm not getting into that. I'm just going to keep running diesel in this thing. It seems to run smooth, and I'm going to keep it that way. So those were some of your alternatives, and I thought I'd mention them. So anyway, you can choose what you want, but I'm sticking with diesel. The one thing I really liked was that Bluetooth app that comes with it. When I did that test in the tent, it worked awesome. No issues with it. There's a little lag from it when it goes to this, when it starts to either go up or go down, but it works perfect. Did I use this yet? No, but I did try it, and it does work. So the remote is a good thing, I guess, depending on where you're going to use it. But that was a great feature. So if you have that, I would suggest getting that one because you can get them without that, but I found it very beneficial. All right. Are these for everybody? No. This thing's about 25 pounds or a little less. And then you got this, which is not much. It's about 20 pounds as well. So this is something you're going to car camp with, or you have a vehicle to drive into somewhere. You're definitely not lugging this anywhere. You could winter camp because you can pull a sled, like a polk sled like I have, behind you and pull all this, or split the amount of stuff up with your friend. So you could potentially do that. I'm going to use it in my ice fishing shack as well. I think my brother's going to get one for his off-grid cabin and put one in there. And I'm going to use it for some hot tenting excursions as well, and do some different cooking besides just using the stove in the tent. But I'm going to just change it up, make some variety on the channel, and that's what I'm going to do with it. But I like it. It's a good emergency backup. It's good to have. You know, guys put them in their vans and that. But I think the big thing is keep them clean, do the shutdown cycle and the startup properly each time. Don't disconnect the power, or try not to lose power, and you'll be good. I tried the code for to see when it runs out of fuel, and it actually worked. And it was, what did I write down? It is the E-08. So if you run out of fuel, you'll get that. So it does work. I tried it. Probably not a good thing to run that down and empty the pump, but anyway, I tried it to see what would I get. Well, guys, I hope you like this one. I love tinkering with things and adding new things to my collection. So this is another one. These are a lot of fun to do. They have a place in my arsenal for use in the field, and I'm sure you could find somewhere to use them as well. Looking at stats, like right now I'm just over, I think 553 subscribers is what I have. You know, I'd like to get to 1,000, that's a goal, and I just want to keep climbing. Looked at the online statistics for my channel, and like 90-something% of the people who watch my channel are not subscribers. So if you would love to like and subscribe, that would be great. Hit the bell and get notified of any future videos. I love doing this, and I'm going to keep doing it regardless. So with that, Blue Sea out. Live off the land. See you soon.